The ancients taught that if you don't have the heart to harm others, you must also have the heart to guard against others. Even if you don't harbor ill will towards anyone, when choosing someone to associate with, you still need to be careful. Don't let any relationship get too deep, or you will bring disaster upon yourself. When we were young, all of us experienced the feeling of wanting to open our hearts to those around us. When we are lonely, we crave someone to share with, to confide in. When we are sad or in pain, we look for a shoulder to cry on. Or when we are desperate and don't know what to do, we need someone to encourage and motivate us. That is human instinct, the desire to connect and share. However, when we grow up, we realize that we cannot always devote all our emotions to others. We cannot let feelings overwhelm everything in life. One day you will have to look back at your relationships. Are they really important? Are they still worth preserving? Whether you stay or cut ties is up to you. Imagine there is someone in your life who constantly makes you feel guilty, who judges you, and who makes you think that you are only valuable if you please them. Marcus Aurelius himself once said, "You have control over your mind, not over external events." Remember this. When you realize that there are relationships that are not worth staying in, you will find the strength to create distance. It is not selfish, but a necessary action to protect your own peace and self-esteem. This video will help you recognize the danger signs in relationships and give you powerful tools to deal with them without guilt or hesitation. Before we get into the types of people you should stay away from, if you are new, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to support the channel. 1. Cut off ties with people who take family relationships for granted. For parents who are unfilial, uncaring, and do not take care of their families, these people deserve to be decisively cut off from the relationship. When they do not love and respect their closest people, how can they be expected to have sincere feelings for outsiders? Stoic philosophy teaches us that sincere feelings are a core value in life. When you see that someone does not know how to respect their loved ones, do not expect them to treat you well. Stoicism encourages us to choose relationships based on virtue, sincerity, and true love. People who do not respect their family will have no reason to respect you. Sometimes, letting go of this relationship is a way to protect your heart and soul from unnecessary pain. At important times, this kind of heartless and meaningless person will betray friends and relatives for their own sake. A hypocritical person may tell you a lot of good things and be easily swayed, but in reality, his thoughts are completely devoid of friends. His beautiful words and ideas are only for his own benefit. A person who places more importance on personal interests than on personal principles, and friendship should be cut off as soon as possible. The Stoics believe that relationships must be based on principles, honesty, and respect. When someone values personal interest over friendship, the relationship is no longer an equal and sincere exchange. Marcus Aurelius once emphasized that we must learn to recognize unworthy relationships and have the courage to refuse them. Although it may seem difficult, decisively cutting off hypocritical and self-serving people will help protect your peace of mind so that you are not dragged into the selfish schemes and calculations of others. When you realize that there are people who are not sincere and not worth your emotional investment, act with self-respect and protect your inner strength. Friendships and relationships need to be built on a foundation of sincerity and mutual respect. Not everyone deserves a place in your life, and sometimes being decisive is the only way to keep your mind and emotions in check. 2. Avoid argumentative people. Every healthy relationship is based on harmony and respect. When someone constantly argues and drags you into conflicts, it not only weakens the relationship, but also damages your inner peace. In a relationship where every conversation turns into a fight, you will gradually feel tired and exhausted. This is exactly what happens when you deal with people who never stop arguing. Not only do they blow up small issues, but they also try to drag you into their conflicts, forcing you to choose sides. Such people not only drain their own lives, but also destroy the peace in your relationship. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that inner peace is the most precious thing we can achieve. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control the actions of others, but we can control our own reactions. When faced with quarrelsome people, we must learn to keep our cool and not let them drag us into their fights. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Our lives are not what happens to us, but how we react to it." So, if you want to maintain peace, it is important to learn to detach yourself and not get caught up in unnecessary conflicts. Imagine if you had a friend who always dragged you into arguments, even over trivial matters. Whenever there was a difference of opinion, he would immediately turn it into a heated argument. Even during intimate gatherings, these arguments left me feeling exhausted and deprived of the joy and peace that I could have enjoyed in those moments. People who always find ways to quarrel not only disturb the peace in their lives, but can also drag you into an unnecessary emotional spiral. Stoicism encourages us to understand that these conflicts are not something we need to engage in. Instead of engaging in an argument and letting it affect our emotions, we should stand our ground and protect our peace of mind. When you realize that a relationship is becoming too conflict-ridden, withdrawing and keeping your distance is a way to protect yourself from negative influences. 3. Avoid people who minimize others' worries. True relationships are about sharing and mutual respect. When your contributions and efforts are taken for granted and not properly appreciated, it weakens the foundation of the relationship. One of the greatest disappointments in life is when we share our struggles, only to encounter people who magnify their own burdens while minimizing or ignoring ours. This is not only disrespectful, but also erodes trust and depletes the foundation of any relationship. Stoic philosophy teaches us that self-respect and respect for others are fundamental values in any relationship. We cannot control the feelings and actions of others, but we can control how we respond. When you are faced with people who minimize your concerns, learn to stay calm and not let their emotions get the best of you. Epictetus, a famous Stoic philosopher, taught, "We cannot change what happens to us, but we can change how we react to it." Recognizing your own worth and not letting others diminish it is an important part of maintaining peace of mind and self-esteem. I remember confiding in a longtime friend about the challenges of balancing work, family, and travel when I was constantly away for work. Instead of showing empathy, he dismissed my concerns and immediately turned the conversation to his own work pressures, as if my difficulties did not exist. The experience was not only frustrating but also extremely painful. I have found that relationships can only thrive when both parties respect and truly listen to each other, appreciating each other's struggles just as they want their own struggles to be appreciated. Respect is not always expressed in grand gestures, but sometimes in the simplest of actions, such as expressing sincere gratitude, saying thank you when someone helps, or apologizing when you have caused harm. These words, when spoken from the heart, are not just simple politeness, but also an expression of respect and sincerity. Stoic philosophy encourages us to practice listening and empathy. When you realize that others do not appreciate the struggles you are facing, remember that you can decide not to let their actions affect your feelings. Respect and gratitude need to be nurtured from both sides, and if one person fails to show it, it is time to reconsider the relationship. Stoicism teaches that you cannot change how others behave, but you can choose how you respond and protect your own peace. Don't let those who do not appreciate you diminish your worth, because inner peace and self-respect are the true power in life. 4. Stay away from people who only know how to demand and take advantage. Adult life is not simply about building a career and developing yourself, but also about how we define and maintain the relationships around us. Every adult has a circle of acquaintances, including relatives, but in modern society, these relationships often become a source of fatigue and hurt. Siblings can fight over property just because of money. They can even kill each other or do things that we ourselves can hardly explain. Even friends and relatives who have not visited for decades, but when there is a problem, need help, or want to take advantage, will not hesitate to drag you into that vortex. Stoic philosophy reminds us that respect and loyalty are not obvious, but must be built through time and action. Stoics advise us not to get caught up in relationships that only serve to exploit us. We have control over who we choose to associate with. One of the most important Stoic lessons is to realize that you can choose to cut off or limit your relationships with people who do not value you. Indeed, one of the keys to maintaining peace of mind is the ability to say no to toxic relationships, whether they are family or friends. Marcus Aurelius once shared, "We cannot make people love us, but we can make them respect us." Suppose you have had an unforgettable experience with a relative of yours. This person has not visited you for a decade, nor has he shown any interest in what is going on in your life. But when you are in trouble, you receive a call, not to ask how you are, but to ask for help, even to take advantage of your difficult situation to get what he wants. The feeling is not only disappointing, but also painful, because you realize that love is not always the driving force behind a relationship. Selfishness and exploitation will only drain trust and make the relationship a burden. Stoic philosophy teaches us that we have the power to choose relationships that will nurture inner peace and strength. When you notice that someone only comes to you when they need something, have the courage to say no and cut off contact if necessary. This does not mean that you are unfeeling or cold, but simply that you are protecting yourself from people who do not appreciate you. We can only go far in life if we are surrounded by sincere and lasting relationships. Stoicism encourages us to understand that protecting ourselves and our self-respect is necessary to maintain peace of mind. 5. When you meet someone, if you feel pain, stay away from them. Have you ever noticed that people who used to bring you joy, laughter and comfort now make you feel distant, not as close as before? Maybe you did something wrong, or they simply changed in a way that is no longer suitable for you. In fact, sometimes it is just time that has led two people on different paths. Life is constantly evolving, and so are we. Our interests, values, and perspectives naturally change over time, and sometimes relationships that were once completely in sync begin to feel disharmonious. There are people who used to be fun, but now only leave behind fatigue and pressure. This is not a sign of failure in the friendship, but a time to recognize that the relationship is no longer good for both parties. When you feel like you are no longer yourself after each meeting, or every conversation only makes you feel stressed and sad, that is when you need to realize that it is time to let go. Stoic philosophy teaches us that inner peace is the most important thing, and we must know when a relationship is no longer beneficial to the soul. The Stoics advise us that each person's life is a journey, and we have the right to choose relationships that are in line with our values and goals in life. Marcus Aurelius, one of the famous Stoic philosophers, once said, "Life is short, so do not waste your time on people who bring nothing positive to you." I used to have a close friend who was a great inspiration in my life. Every time we met, we would laugh and share interesting stories. But over time, that was no longer the case. After many years, every time we met, I only felt pressured and sad. She kept talking about failures and dissatisfaction in life without any solutions to improve the situation. Every conversation just made me feel heavy, and I realized that it was time to let go. The relationship was no longer a joy, but only a long-term fatigue. Stoicism teaches us that when a relationship is no longer suitable, we need to have the courage to let go, not because we do not love that person, but because we have to protect our inner peace. Life is always changing, and we must accept that relationships are the same. Holding on to relationships that no longer bring us positive growth only holds us back. Stoicism encourages us to be proactive, knowing when to walk away, when to keep our distance, and to continue our life journey with peace and freedom in mind. 6. Avoid people who only know how to complain about themselves, family, or work. When your relationship revolves around constant complaining about yourself, family, or work, you will quickly feel exhausted. You will feel like an emotional dumping ground where someone comes just to vent their sadness, frustration, and endless complaints. Everyone needs a shoulder to lean on during difficult times, and that sharing is very necessary. However, this sharing needs to be built on empathy and understanding, not selfishness. When someone constantly complains without caring about your feelings, and only comes to you to vent sadness without wanting companionship or sincere help, that is a sign of an unhealthy relationship. They are using you as a reservoir for their emotional burdens without thinking about the impact this has on you. Not only is this emotionally draining, but it can also drag you into a whirlwind of negative emotions that you can't carry forever. You will find that if you are not careful, these people will destroy your inner peace. Stoic philosophy does not encourage us to ignore people who are struggling, but it encourages us to set boundaries in our relationships. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control other people's emotions, but we can control how we react to them. When someone constantly dumps their emotional burdens on you without seeking empathy, it is time to create distance to protect your own peace. Marcus Aurelius, one of the famous Stoic philosophers, once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This means that you can't change other people's attitudes, but you can choose how to respond and protect your mind from the negative emotions they bring. Imagine a close friend who always comes to you when she has a problem, but instead of sharing honestly, she just keeps complaining about everything in her life: work, family, relationships, and feelings of disappointment about herself. At first, you think you can be a good friend, listening and giving advice. But over time, you realize that you start to feel tired and exhausted. Every conversation becomes an emotional battle that you can't win because she never seeks real help. She just wants to vent her emotions. In the end, I decided to create distance. Not because I don't care, but because I needed to protect myself from the negative effects of this relationship. You understand that you can't always be a place where others can vent their frustrations without caring about your own feelings. Stoic advice is that when faced with people who only complain, remember that we have the right to set boundaries. Creating distance is not indifference, but an act of protecting our peace of mind. We can't save everyone in every situation, but we can decide to protect our peace of mind and not let other people's negative emotions affect us. Always remember that you deserve healthy relationships, where sharing and empathy are the two core elements, not conversations that only revolve around complaining. 7. Avoid promise breakers. Have you ever waited for someone who never showed up, only to be given a flimsy excuse, or worse, no explanation at all? How does it feel to realize that you are not a priority in someone's life? Promises are more than just empty words. They are a commitment, an expression of respect and trust. The most painful thing is when someone not only breaks their promise, but also forgets that they ever made it. This not only erodes trust, but also makes you feel like you are just a passing thought in their life, not really important. A healthy relationship is never built on empty promises or indifference. When someone can't keep their word and doesn't respect their commitments, it shows that they don't value the relationship with you. Broken promises not only hurt, but they also make you feel like a part of their life is not a priority, not appreciated. Listen to your own feelings. You deserve to have relationships where both parties value each other. If someone can't do this, don't hesitate to let them go. Every time you say no to people who don't respect you, you are creating space for better people to enter your life. People who will actually keep their promises and give you respect. I remember a friend named Jack. We promised to attend an important event together, but when the day came, he didn't show up without warning or explanation. At first I thought there was something wrong, but when this situation happened again, I realized that he didn't value his promises. He always had an excuse to avoid the commitments he had made. This feeling of disappointment was really uncomfortable because I understood that the broken promise was not simply a mistake, but a lack of respect, a lack of value for the relationship between us. When I decided not to wait any longer, I felt relieved. I created space for friends who truly valued and kept their promises, people I could trust and build sincere relationships with. Every time you reject people who do not respect you, you open the door for good, sincere people to enter your life. Marcus Aurelius once said, "We cannot change the way others treat us, but we can change the way we react." In this case, creating distance and rejecting people who do not keep their promises is not an act of ignoring, but a conscious decision to protect your own peace. Stoicism teaches us that we deserve relationships where respect and commitment are important, and that not everyone deserves to be in our lives. 8. Stay away from people who don't spend money. Have you ever met someone and immediately heard them say they don't have money? If they are truly struggling, it's easy to understand and empathize with their situation. However, the strange thing is that these individuals often live quite comfortably. They do not hesitate to enjoy personal pleasures, take trips, or indulge in their own hobbies. But when it comes to you, they come up with financial excuses to avoid responsibilities or obligations. This is not a matter of poverty, but of calculating behavior, lack of honesty, and respect. If you have ever found yourself in such a situation, take a moment to reflect. This is not a sign of a balanced or sincere relationship. A real relationship is one where both parties respect each other and are fair in sharing finances and responsibilities. A friend or partner may not always have enough money, but they will never use financial reasons to avoid participating in common plans and obligations that both parties are responsible for. I used to have a friend like that. Whenever we planned an activity, he always made an excuse that he did not have enough money to participate. However, I noticed that he did not hesitate to spend on personal luxuries such as branded goods, expensive trips, or hobbies. I started to feel that something was wrong. He could spend money on unnecessary things, but was not willing to share in the common plans and projects that we had planned together. This made me realize that this was not an equal relationship, but one of exploitation and disrespect. Whenever I tried to share some important things with him, he used financial reasons to refuse. This feeling made me very disappointed, and I decided not to continue maintaining that relationship. Stoicism not only teaches us how to face challenges in life, but also emphasizes the importance of maintaining healthy relationships. Marcus Aurelius once said that we cannot change the behavior of others, but we can choose how we react and maintain our dignity. When we encounter people who are dishonest, using financial reasons to avoid responsibilities or obligations, We should not let them influence our emotions and decisions. Stoicism teaches us that in relationships, honesty, respect, and fairness should always come first. If a person is unable to share some of the burden in the relationship, it is a sign that the relationship is not worth maintaining. People who are not willing to participate in common responsibilities, but spend money on luxuries or unnecessary things, are usually not truly sincere friends. Listen to your gut and know when it's time to walk away from relationships that don't add value to you. Stoicism reminds us that we have the power to choose who we surround ourselves with in life, and we should only keep those who truly value and respect us. 9. Avoid people who like to show off too much. True confidence is about living in the present, understanding that the value of life lies in what we have and are doing, not just in past achievements. However, there is one type of person that you will definitely meet in life, and that is the person who always uses their glorious past as the basis for their story about themselves. They always bring up past achievements as if they are the only valuable part of their life. At first, you may find those stories interesting, even admirable, but over time, you will realize that stories of past success are just a cover, a way to hide the lack of joy and meaning in their current life. When a person always lives in the past, they are missing out on precious moments in the present, and this makes the relationship shallow and lacking in depth. I remember a friend named John who always talked about his achievements in college, the glorious moments of the past that he considered to be proud of. But every time I asked about his current job or life, he would avoid or change the subject. That made me feel that he was not really satisfied with his current life, but was just living in the old glory. His past stories only made me feel a lack of joy and confidence in his current life. I began to realize that people who live too much in the past often lack the ability to face and enjoy life in the present. Stoicism teaches us that the only thing we can control and enjoy is the present. Marcus Aurelius once emphasized that we should live in the present because it is the only thing we have control over. When a person only lives in the past, they are missing the opportunity to enjoy and grow in every moment of life. Stoicism encourages us to not only appreciate the past, but also focus on building a meaningful life in the present. A lasting relationship is not only built on past achievements, but also on empathy, connection, and joy from the present. When you meet people who only brag about the past, realize that they may be lacking joy in their current life, and your relationship with them may not be growing in a healthy direction. Look for people who are able to live and grow in the present, because they are the ones who can truly bring joy and meaning to your life. People who only live in the glory of the past may never find joy in the present, and the relationship with them may become weak and lacking in depth. Stoicism teaches us that we can only change and grow in the present. If you want to build a meaningful life and authentic relationships, stay away from people who live in the past and focus on what matters here and now. The Stoic philosophy reminds us that life is not always easy, but the important thing is that we can control how we react and maintain peace of mind. Stoicism encourages us to live autonomously, not allowing emotions or circumstances beyond our control to disturb our inner peace. At the same time, this philosophy also teaches us to choose relationships that bring value, people who can help us grow and develop, instead of relationships that harm our personal peace and happiness. When you begin to recognize unhealthy relationships and let them go, you not only free yourself from negative influences, but also create space for better things, people who truly deserve to enter your life. If you find this video useful and meaningful, do not hesitate to share it with people around you. Clicking like is a small action, but it is a huge motivation for us to continue bringing valuable content to you. Thank you for taking the time to watch the whole video.